Well, welcome everybody, welcome friends to this important conversation. It's know your worth, and that's such an important thing for each of us to explore on our own. I'm Debbie Esparza. I'm CEO of the YWCA Metropolitan Phoenix, and you've got the A team of our panelists today. But if you do have questions, write them in the chat and they'll respond to them at the appropriate time. So we're so grateful you're here today, and we hope that you do enjoy the program. Next slide, please. YWCAs on a mission, you might wonder why we do this work. A couple of different reasons. Our primary focus is to eliminate racism and empower women. And what better way than to draw attention to the wage gap that impacts women and people of color. Our prosperity programs help with financial education and workshops, as well as individual financial coaching. This program falls in that bucket of programs. We also do equity programs where you can learn more about racial justice and raise your own consciousness and awareness of racial, social, and gender justice issues. And we do senior programs. We provide about 123,000 meals a year for seniors in the Glendale area. And particularly this time of year, it's important that we not only provide their meals, but give them a little bit of contact and a socialization because that's so hard, particularly during the holidays, for folks that might be isolated. So prosperity, equity, and senior programs, all designed in a way to help dismantle some of the systems that get in the way of progress. Next slide, please. You have today, like I said, the A team. Your moderator is Lisa Cagnolati. She's going to share an exciting story about what's happening to her right now. So I'm not going to give you all of that. And hold on, she's got years of experience with utility companies in Southern California. She's formerly on our board, currently on the board of Valley of the Sun United Way, but an all-around brilliant person. So welcome to Lisa, who will be your moderator today. Next slide. And now I can't see the slide, so I don't know who's up next. I'm going to take a guess. It's either Giovanna or it's Maria. If it's Giovanna, she is also going to share some information with you about a pivot that she's just made, coming from the corporate world to an independent world. Giovanna is the first gen mentor, and she has a wonderful story to share with you about how she has navigated her, making sure that she is paid her work as well. Next on board is going to be Maria. Next slide. Maria is also very talented and very experienced in negotiating and helping folks understand how to have those conversations. She's a mortgage loan officer on the west side of the Valley. Maria, welcome to this panel. I think at this point, I get to turn it over to Lisa. Let's find out if there's another slide. Nope. There you go, Lisa. Welcome, panel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Debbie, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this important conversation. Debbie just asked for me to share a little bit about my career journey, so I'll do that briefly. So after a 35-year career, I retired from Southern California Edison in 2018 as Vice President of Customer Service Operations. Since that time, I have fulfilled my dream of doing more community service, serving on nonprofit boards, doing philanthropy, things that really filled my heart with joy is what my intention was. And as I was humming along, having fun, of course, then the pandemic hit. So my husband and I couldn't do a lot of the travel that we had anticipated that we would do during our retirement. And I got more involved in my sorority. We actually established a new chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority in Maricopa County, and I became its president. We have a small nonprofit arm of that sorority called the Desert Pearls Foundation, and I'm president of that organization. So I've just been busy doing all these things that I really love. And then out of the blue, I get a call from my prior employer asking me if I would be willing to come back as senior vice president of customer service. And it was just an offer that, again, touched my heart. And because I'm a person who loves to help, and the need there is to help continue to stabilize the new customer system that was implemented in 2020 and do some leadership development, which is one of my passions, and also to help with some succession planning, because I think that's important for the long-term vitality, of course, of any corporation, but certainly the one that has my heart, Southern California Edison. So having said all that, I just completed a salary and benefits negotiation to start my new job. So all of this is so fresh and relevant for me. But the real issue that we want to talk about is the issue of pay equity in the United States, right? That's the big issue that we've been addressing through all of our programs and webinars. And this issue is not new. We've been talking about this for decades. But here's why it matters. Consider this statistic. Over a 40-year career, a white woman could lose $418,000. And that sounds like a lot of money, right, over the course of your career. But it's much, much worse for African-American and Latino women who could lose as much as $1 million over the course of their life. This means less money for raising families, and we know just how many women are heads of household, sending children to college, investing in businesses, planning for retirement, and building generational wealth. Generational wealth is an issue that we've started talking about much more during this era of social justice. But the problem persists. And what we are learning is that while there are efforts underway by well-meaning corporations across the country to address this issue, salary negotiations is still something that makes people very uncomfortable, right? It feels uncomfortable. It feels like you're being greedy or mean, and so we shy away from it. But this webinar and this discussion is going to help you, give you some tips and tools on how you can make sure that in your current job or any future job that you pursue, that you know your worth. So let's jump right into the panel discussion. And the first question for our panelists. So ladies, if you could turn your cameras on and unmute yourselves, Maria and Giovanna. The first question is, please tell us a little bit about yourself and when you may have used wage negotiations techniques or found yourself in an underpaid position. Let's start with Maria.
Okay, well, a little bit about myself. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes.
I'm Maria Brenner, and I have over 30 years in the financial industry. My career started in banking, from being a teller to a branch manager, vice president, investment advisor, director of business development, and most recently at a local credit union, I was the regional manager. So I've done a lot in banking. Lending has always been a focal point of my career. So now I work for Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. And it's just an amazing, amazing opportunity. Our CEO likes to say it's not about the loans we do, it's about the hearts and the people that we help. So that's amazing. Now, I also too have served on several boards, currently at the Glendale Chamber of Commerce. And I have to tell you, over 90 years of its rich history. So that was a big win for me. So I was super excited to represent our Latino community, and our President CEO Robert's amazing and really helped me with that. But I'm also in the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. I also serve in the public policy and diversity and inclusion committees. And the reason why I say all of these different boards and where I participate is because we need to make our voice heard. We need to show up, sit at the table, and have the opportunities to also voice wages, including everything else. It's very important for us to participate whenever possible. And I could go on and give you a list of all the different boards that I belong to, but one of the things that my mother told me that it's very important to surround yourself with women. And one of the things that I'm very passionate about is my friendships with chicas. Chicas is a group of ladies that Marie Lopez Rogers, former mayor of Avondale, founded. And this is where we get our support and inspiration. They're amazing ladies. So whenever possible, get involved, know your passion. And I also have a group of prayer ladies where we pray for each other, love on each other, and just be there to support. Now, as far as wage negotiation, I must say I've been very, very blessed. I had great leadership throughout my career. I've always been at par with my peers. And again, that's because of my leadership. Now, I did keep an eye open. And one time I was ready to walk into that door. And she actually came out and invited me into her office. And I was pleasantly surprised. But I've been very, very fortunate. But I did keep my eye open to see, what's going on. And one of the things that I will say is that your superiors always watch your hard work and your dedication. And I was always the first one in and the last one to leave. So that really paid off. And I believe that's why, they were always looking out for me. Now, I was in a management position and I did the same for my team, making sure that we were all at par and we all were doing the same for our team. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Maria. Giovanna, same question.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, everyone. My name is Giovanna. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And my professional background most recently was in investment management. So the last 10 years, I've been in financial services. I started working in auto insurance, and then I transitioned to investment management. So I was most recently working for Northern Trust and doing investment performance reporting. And as part of the Great Resignation, I just kind of had like a shift within me to want to do things differently. So this June, I quit and I transitioned to a new career, which I think better serves me. It's just a lot more fulfilling. So now I'm in the influencer marketing space. So I have a TikTok account. And I know people here might hear TikTok and they think it's like a teenage dancing app, but it has very much evolved from those days in 2019. There's a lot of educational stuff on TikTok, including my account. So on my account, I talk about career navigation for women of color, as well as personal finance tips. And I'm also an educator at universities. So universities will hire me to teach financial literacies to their college students. So I've used negotiation strategies in my corporate job when I had to accept a new job offer. But I definitely use it a lot more now that I am self-employed and that I work for myself. So whether it's negotiating with a company like Fidelity that wants me to make a video promoting Fidelity products, or with a university that wants to hire me as a speaker, I now have to, ask for my worth. So it's more present more than ever now with the type of work that I do now. And I will say, I don't come here as an expert saying that I have it all figured out. Even in my corporate career, there were 2 times that I can think of that I didn't negotiate. The first time was because it was my first job. I didn't even know you could negotiate. I didn't know you were supposed to. I didn't feel empowered to because it was my first job. But now looking back, in that job, I was bilingual. So I should have asked for more money because I did have a higher worth because of that. I was using my Spanish skills in the job that I was doing. Mm-hmm. And then the second time that I didn't negotiate was when I moved states. So I left California and I came to Phoenix, and I didn't think I was owed. I didn't think I had grounds to negotiate because I thought, well, I'm already, the cost of living is already factored in, but it really wasn't, and it really had nothing to do with the role. So I like to not just come here and say I have it all figured out, but I'm just kind of learning, and I like to share, some of the mistakes I made and things I've learned along the way.
Thank you so much. And of course, the purpose of a discussion like this is so that we can all learn and grow together. And one of the hardest parts about this is knowing when you might be underpaid, because sometimes salaries are confidential and the information is not widely shared. And so it's hard to know if you're being paid, what others are being paid in the same job, or if you could be paid more because of your talent and your experience. So let's go on to the next question. Thank you both very much for that. So what's the #1 strategy that you recommend for starting the conversation on wage negotiation? Let's start with Maria, with Giovanna this time.
I would say the #1 strategy to start a salary negotiation. I would say from the beginning, asking for the pay range. I know certain states that if you're interviewing for jobs, and if you ask what is the pay range or the budget for this role, I think they're supposed to say. I know in California that's the case; they legally are required to give you the range, and that just helps with the transparency, like Lisa said, because sometimes you're just like shooting in the dark. You don't even know where to land, So you can try the websites, right? The popular ones are like PayScale, salary.com. I know I've heard mixed things about Glassdoor, that it's not that reliable, but I think those other two are pretty respected. LinkedIn, I think, would also be another good resource to try to look at salary information. But I would say from the beginning, like, don't waste anybody's time, and ask for that budget, and try to understand if the pay range is something that's going to work for your lifestyle and for your financial goals, right? Because it has to be mutually beneficial.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Maria.
Like Giovanna said, it's about know your worth, right? So it is very important to do our research, and those websites, absolutely take a look at those. I would also talk to a recruiter, see what's out there. It's new, what has changed. So that's another thing that I would add. But be prepared when you're thinking about negotiating or walking into a meeting. Just write everything down, because a lot of times we're in front and we forget. So have your bullet points, write everything down, what you want to say after you've done your research, of course, and then pause for a reaction or response, see where they're coming in, ask questions. Organizing your thoughts, it's so important. And then the next question, or the next step that I would do, is be prepared, but schedule timing. It's all about timing. Depending where you work, you don't want to schedule a meeting. Like for us, it would be impossible on a Monday, because all our real estate agents are with their customers throughout the week. So Monday we're busy. So, plan the day that you want to have the meeting, and also have water with you, because when we're having those important conversations, I don't know, like right now we're all with our water next to us, because it's something important for us. And just start with something as simple as, since I would play it like, since I'm your #1 fan, or I'm your #1 employee, there is something that I want to talk to that's important to me. And then, ask for that appointment, that conversation. But since you ask for the appointment, the conversation, already be prepared, because they might just say, come on in. I don't want to, so be prepared, but also schedule that alone time, and just be ready with all your information that you have.
I love that the theme of what you both just said was about being prepared. One of the most important things you can do before you go in for this kind of discussion is to do your research. Be prepared. And you heard from the panelists some of the sources of information that you can use to try to learn what the job. Informal ways to learn. You can find people who already work there and ask them if they wouldn't mind sharing. And if they do mind, no harm, no foul, but at least you asked, right? So that is one of the hardest things I think that people struggle with is, like let's say there's 5 of you all in a company all doing the same job. You really want to ask them how much they're being paid, so that that you're, not being underpaid relative to the people who are doing the same job as you at the same company. But industry-wide, to Gianna's point, you can look at other companies that have the similar types of position and ask people who work there, using LinkedIn as a network to find sources of information. So very, very good. Thank you, ladies. I really appreciate that. So one of the things that we want to arm you all with on this webinar is a series of tips and tools. And so here are some rules. So if you're taking notes or you want to think about like what would a game plan be for you. So let me give you some rules that you might want to consider. So first, be patient. Now, when I saw that rule first, I was like, wait, no, I don't want people to be patient. I want you to be impatient. I want you to really push for what you know you're worth. But here's what that means. Patience is key in negotiations. You know, anyone who's in sales understands this, that you have to use quiet and give your partner, never call them a competitor, your partner in the negotiation, the opportunity to think, for them to form their answer, for them to consider what you just asked for or what you just said, right? So we always say, first of all, postpone the salary negotiation until you're offered the job. That's sometimes hard to do because sometimes in the early discussions, they'll say to you, well, how much do you make or how much do you want? Try to push that answer off by saying you would like to hear what the position pays before you share any of that other kind of information on what you are currently paid or what you might want to be paid. Very, very important to kind of stall answering that question until they give you a salary range to work with. And then rule number 2, be silent, which is what we talked about earlier. Take the time once they give you an offer, take the time to let it soak in. Don't answer right away. Repeat the number to the recruiter. Consider, so you would say, oh, so $50,000. Okay, and then consider asking for time to review the offer before sharing your response. See, and that makes them think that you're not desperate or eager, but you're thoughtful, you're not playing games, you're just thoughtful. You want to take that information home, think about it. And if something is unclear, take the initiative to ask questions. Like at that point, you might ask, are there bonuses in addition to just the salary? And just ask some thoughtful questions in that regard. So here's a script. I love this. So here's a script that we got from the US World Report. And you would say, I'm really excited to work here, and I know that I will bring a lot of value. I appreciate the offer at $58,000, but I was really expecting it to be more in the $65,000 range based on my experience, drive, and performance. Can we look at a salary of $65,000 for this position? Now that sounds soft and easy, but very direct and clear, right? Not threatening, not in any way argumentative. You're just asking a question. Thank you very much. That's a great offer, but I thought this position paid a little more than that, closer to $65,000. You think we could consider that? And then you let them consider it. And if they say no, that's okay. Remember, no is still a good answer because it means you asked the question. Right? So remember that. Sometimes the answer is no, but at least you asked the question. Rule number 3, be persistent. In many cases, the employer, of course, will reject your first request, but push back gently, justifying your proposed salary. And don't fear no, as again, no is often a part of a respectful negotiation discussion. I love that. Rule number 4, be flexible. If the company will not budge on salary, then negotiate other compensation. And we're going to talk about that a little later in the discussion today. So there's vacation, there's other benefits, gym memberships. There's a million different things that you could ask for that go along with the salary and benefits package. And then number 5, be brave. Right? It takes courage to step in and have these conversations and have the confidence in yourself that you are worth more than maybe what they're offering. The biggest mistake you can make is to not negotiate at all. Even though you may not get exactly what you're asking for, you can still learn from the experience and potentially get more than what they originally offered. So now I'm going to turn it over to the panelists and ask you, do you have a personal experience or perspective to share on the rules that you've used as you think about going into different jobs that you've had or asking for more money at the companies that you currently have worked for? Maria.
Well, besides salary, it's also important to have your home life balance. So when you take on a job, and I've interviewed quite a few people in my management position, and I'll be there on Saturday, I'll go to the evening, partnerships. And then when we ask, okay, it's time this Saturday or in the evening, they can't make it. So it is important to know that your home life balance, and let your employer know that that's important. To me, when my son had his first job, he knew that Sundays morning we had to go to church. So when he, started his job, he said, I'll work 7 days a week, but on Sundays after 1. And, and he knew that was important to him. So that's important, like you said, a vacation time or flex time. If we have to pick up kids from daycare, that may be something as part of the negotiation. Now, I'll also tell you the title and promotions, the name is very important. I participated with one of the organizations, and if I did not have the title director, if I had manager, I was not welcome, because in that particular meeting or gatherings, it was CEOs, presidents, directors. So that's also a negotiation, how you can perform medical benefits, like you mentioned, retirement. Yvonne is huge on that. And do they offer anything for education? Right now, we hear that a lot of employers are paying for someone to go to school. So that, I would say, would be part of the negotiation. And I also want to share, I'm getting off track here, but I think it's important. When I was hiring a team, we as managers have a salary that we offer you. But this is the scale, but I have a negotiation that I can go higher. So we do have that ability. So don't be shy and ask, because our HR department gives us a range and we have a budget for our team. So it is important for everyone to
Absolutely.
know that. Yes,
wow, thank you so much. Giovanna, what rules or what additional rules have you thought of or used in negotiations in your personal experience?
I think what's really important for me is to feel empowered. And the way that I do that is by listing like the reasons why I deserve more money. So I'm thinking about the times that I've asked for a raise at work. Like I put together a list of my accomplishments and things that I was proud of that I've done on the job, and that weren't just my everyday duties, that I went above and beyond. So taking on extra projects, training on people that I didn't have to train, but I took that initiative of doing that, or leading this initiative, this project. Putting together collecting emails, of compiling emails of times that I've been told, hey, this is great work. Thanks for getting it back to me so quickly. Anytime that I've been complimented, right? Just having that as, for lack of a better word, as ammunition, just to be able to present my case for why I deserve more. And I would say practicing too, for me, just because it's something that's very unnatural to me with my cultural upbringing. Even with this last time that I had to ask for a raise at my job, like my family was asking, well, aren't you happy with what they pay you? Why are you asking for more money? Or what if your boss gets mad? And no, they're not going to get mad. Asking for a raise is a normal business process, but my parents don't come from like a white collar background. So they're just, they're used to, you get paid what you get paid and that's it, and just kind of keep your mouth shut and, keep your head down and keep working. So it's definitely different in corporate America, I'd say. So to me, that's how I help myself feel empowered, by writing down those accomplishments, reminding myself that I am making an impact, that I am contributing to the company's bottom line, compiling those nice notes where people compliment me on my good work, and then practicing so that when I do ask for that additional money, I'm not tripping over my words, and I can really sound like somebody that's owning my worth and my value, and I sound confident about it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And, so we talked a little bit, let's explore a little deeper this area of what are all of the kinds of things that you can ask for in a negotiation. So just, Maria and Giovanna, I'm going to sort of run through a list, and anything that you think of that I might have missed, because I really would like the participants to have a full package of the kinds of things that they can ask for. So of course, salary is the first thing. The second would be bonuses. Depending on your position in the company, sometimes there are profit sharing packages that they offer, vacation time, flex time. I think one of you already mentioned flex time. How about working from home? A lot of companies, now that's a given right now, right? But a lot of companies are going to be asking their employees to go back into the office, either full-time or hybrid, and you can negotiate that. If working from home works for you for a lot of good reasons, even just saving gas, if you're thinking about it from a financial perspective, or daycare for a loved one, you can think about being home as a benefit for you, right? And as long as you can get the same work done, it should be a wash for the employer. Signing bonuses. Remember, companies have to do a search usually to find high-level employees, and they will offer a signing bonus or relocation money for you if you are out of state or need to relocate to take the job. So remember those kinds of items too, if it applies to your situation. Is there anything else? I think I heard educational reimbursement. What else?
Say also, just like memberships, I was just going to say that memberships, there's certain things that we need to belong to, and some employers may not want to participate, but that in order for you to bring the value that you just had on your resume or how well you're doing, those memberships can sometimes be expensive, and you're really representing the organization. So those to me are important. Of course, you have your medical, your retirement, the pay with stock. My husband, when he took an early retirement, it was because a lot of their bonuses were in stock. And, when the stock goes up, it gives them more flexibility to be able to take an early retirement. Sure. And when we start young, it adds up. So yes, those would be some of the.
That's right. So retirement savings, retirement benefits. Yeah, so the point of this conversation is to make a list of all of the different things, and please get everything in writing. I'll give you a perfect example. So let's say one of the things you asked for in the discussion was you wanted to be able to go to industry conferences once or twice a year so that you could continue to learn and network with people in your industry. And they say, oh yeah, definitely, you'll be able to do that. But then they don't put it in writing. And then when a time comes and there's a conference you want to go to, they'll say, oh, sorry, we don't have a budget for that, or we don't need to go to that because that one's not important. And so you need to have it in writing so that you can hold them accountable, but also so that it holds you accountable to make sure you do your continuous learning on the job and continue your development. Okay, so thank you. That's really good. Okay, well now, unless there are is there anything else that we may have missed that the panelists want to add in their prior experiences? Then we can open it to the floor and have a Q&A.
Yeah, I have some last minute tips that I like to add. I think it's really important to constantly keep a pulse on what your market rate is, not just when it's time to negotiate a raise or negotiate a new job offer. So the way that I liked doing that was by asking people as they left the company. I just found that they were more willing to share at that point because they weren't your competitor or your colleague. They're just like, I don't care, I'm leaving. So, it can be kind of dicey depending on who it is. I would definitely ask somebody that I've built rapport with. So I wouldn't ask a complete stranger that is just happening to leave the company, hey, can you tell me how much you earn? But if it's somebody that you've established some sort of connection with, I think it's safe to ask. And the way that I approach that conversation and say, hey, well, congratulations on your new opportunity. I was hoping I could pick your brain for like 10 minutes about your experience with the company. And usually people are willing to vent and talk about their frustrations. So I always approach it from the angle of like, hey, I'm learning a lot about, closing the wage gap. And I've learned that a good strategy to do that is by asking exiting employees about their salary information, just so that I can make sure that I'm being paid, what I'm supposed to for this kind of role. Would you mind sharing, would you feel comfortable sharing with me a ballpark of what you've earned, in this position? And what I found, I've tried the strategy twice, and both times, not only do they tell me like they're exiting salary information, they told me for the whole time that they've been with the company, they said, when I had this position, I got this much. And then when I moved to this role, I got a bump of X amount. And I know that this person on the other team, they make similar. So they'll start telling you all the secrets because, like I said, they're leaving. So they don't care. So I think that's a good way to kind of, keep track of that information. It is harder when you don't work like, for a labor union or for, a county job where those pay bands just aren't available. So I think that's a good way to kind of stay on top of it. I think another good strategy would be whenever you have these LinkedIn recruiters reach out to you about these opportunities. I know they're time consuming to, interview. It's good to just kind of keep your interview skills sharp, but it's also a good time to ask, hey, what does this role pay? And then that way you can know, am I underpaid? Is it time to ask for a raise on my current job? And who knows, you might end up finding that this opportunity actually is exciting to you and something that would make you want to jump ship. But by speaking to recruiters, like somebody mentioned earlier, that's a good way to keep pulse of what the market rate is, because those things change, especially right now with so many people changing positions and all that.
Absolutely. That's wonderful stuff. Thank you so much.
I would like to add also that we are used to having our 90-day review, sometimes 6-month review or annual review, and that's when we talk about salaries. But as you receive any type of note from a customer or coworker, certificate, keep those. Those are important. And it doesn't hurt, because I've had several on my team that they would say, hey, my review's coming up. Let me remind you of this. Perfect. I'll put in your little file when you did something wrong. But sometimes I forget, that nice note that you received because of your customer service, and we gained all these deposits. So it's important for you also to remind your superiors, your manager, hey, this is what I did. And if you know your annual review is coming up, don't be, waiting for it. You take that approach, because we start preparing that annual review 30 days beforehand, because now I have to send it to HR for review so I can get the salary approved. So, be proactive and remind them of your accomplishments. I took this class, I got the certificate, I got that nice letter. All of those things play into that performance. It's coming up for 90 days, be ready, approach it ahead of time. So that's what I would also share, because instead of giving you this percentage, we can negotiate a higher percentage. Sometimes when it's already with HR and it's sealed, that's what we offer. It's a lot harder for us to go back and try to ask for more, especially if we have a team, because there are percentages that are given. So that's what I would add.
That is really, really important information. And so this is an opportunity for you to toot your horn. And the louder you toot your horn, the more likely you are to get a nice salary increase. So the way to do that, so Maria touched on a couple of very important points. Don't wait until it's review time to try to compile this information. You create a spreadsheet at the beginning of the year, and every time something great happens for you, you accomplish something, you get a compliment from a customer, etc., you put it on your list. And so 2 months before salary action is about to take place, you send it to your boss and you say, I just wanted you to have this in preparation for salary action and performance reviews, because I would always say to my employees that I forget, I have a million trillion things going on, and I might forget that you got this accolade or that you achieved this goal. So put the onus on yourself as the employee to make sure your boss knows how awesome you are before salary action time comes around. So that's really good advice, Maria. Thank you so much. Okay, folks, so now it's Q&A time. And it's so cute because I see Debbie's picture has her hand up. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat, not in the Q&A. So down at the bottom of the screen there, please place your questions in the chat and we will try to answer them for you. What's on your mind today?
And Lisa, while we wait for questions to come in, I wanted to piggyback off Maria's point about not waiting to ask till the final review, year-end review, because number one, that's when everybody else is asking. So you don't want to ask when everybody else is asking. And then number two, because like Maria said, there are deadlines. So I've been in that situation where I waited too long to ask. And my boss told me, I wish you would have had this conversation with me a month ago. I didn't realize this was important to you because the money has been split and we can't change anymore. But let's reassess in 6 months, So sometimes it is just outside of their control, and timing and HR deadlines matter. So don't wait.
Thank you so much. That's great. Okay, so our first question has come in and it's for Giovanna. What is your TikTok handle name?
It's my handle is at the First Gen Mentor. So I'm most active on TikTok. I have I just hit 165,000 followers. I post a couple times a week, so like 5 times a week. You'll see career tips, negotiation tips. I had a viral video a couple weeks ago on negotiation, and I'm also on Instagram. So if you're not on TikTok, you can find me on Instagram. The handle is GG the First Gen Mentor.
That is so awesome, and please put that in the chat if you would, so people can refer to it as we go along. That's so awesome.
Yeah,
my son just set me up on TikTok so I could follow him. There's no way I'm posting anything, but I will follow him. Any other questions?
If I can just add, because that brings me to another thing, social media. Please be careful with your social media, because as employers, when we are looking to hire someone, we do review your social media.
So true.
As employers, we have policy procedures to follow. So we have our security, our compliance team that follow us on social media to see what's going on. So just be careful with social media.
That's right. Absolutely. I just took a picture of the screen, Giovanna, so I could get your handles. Thank you. Okay, here's a question. Does the YWCA offer in-person workshops? Is that a question for Debbie or one of the facilitators?
We absolutely do. We can do that on with some coordination. We're just a little bit getting back into in-person, but we'd be open to talking to you. If you've got a group of folks you'd like us to present to, please, at the end of this session, you'll have my email and Cambria's email, and you can reach right out to us and we will do our best to accommodate.
Thank you, Debbie. I just realized that when you put your questions in the chat, only the hosts and panelists can see it. So can the administrator of the webinar make Giovanna's information available to everyone in the webinar?
Yes, I will put it there for everyone.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions? Any advice for when it seems your title is very disparate from what you're actually doing? Great question. Anybody? What advice for when it seems your title is different from what you're actually doing? Well, I'll start. I'll jump in and add a little bit. First, you have to ask the question. Ask your boss, tell them what you observe, and ask, is there a title that is more in line with what you're doing? And already do the research, by the way, so you know if there is another title, like maybe there are other people in the company who are doing that work that you're actually doing, but they have a different title and maybe they're making more money at it. Absolutely ask your boss about it. That's the first place to start. Maria, I think you were going to add to that.
Oh, just reiterate that, yes, having a conversation. I started with this position and I'm finding myself doing this and everything else. So having that conversation and just bringing it back to see exactly. And again, and maybe a salary increase.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. I think it's so important to bring up, man, because I mean, at least my experience, these corporations, they will take advantage of you and milk you for as long as they can. So you really have to speak up. If you're catching yourself doing supervisor work, but you're not getting supervisor up, and you have to be able to list, these are the sort of things that I'm doing. This is a job description. It's not the same. So either, we need to cut down on my responsibilities, or what I would prefer is to get this next position up along with the accompanying pay.
That's right. And so I like to, just flip it a little bit just to say it's our responsibility to make sure that we're being treated fairly. I don't blame the companies for not treating us fairly. It's like, wait, if you know that you're doing this work and you see these other people that are getting paid more, ask the question. Okay. And that's the important thing. And I know it feels like, well, that's kind of not fair. Like, why do I have to be responsible for this? Well, you just do. It's kind of like that. Like, life isn't always fair, and you have to advocate for yourself, be brave, be direct, be strategic, always have your information, your ducks in line, as they say, and then go in and talk to your boss and say, I'm doing a really great job at what I do. I love what I do, but I noticed that X, Y, and Z, right? These people are here being paid a little more. They have a different title. I really would like to have that title and that pay. So that's a great way to approach it. The next question I see in the chat is, what if you're new, going back into I think what you mean, going back into like the private sector, is there a way to capture my volunteer experience? And the answer is absolutely yes. And everything that you do for that volunteer work, whether it's organize an event or plan the registration process or handle the technology, like someone today is handling the technology for us, they would put that on their resume. And you really have to go into detail about what you do, the activities and skills that you brought to that volunteer experience. Absolutely, and employers do look at that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say now in my new career as a financial educator, they might think that I'm new to the space because I technically just started doing it in July for pay, but I was doing it pro bono as a volunteer with the YWCA. So I'd argue I've been teaching financial literacy to the community. Now it's just I'm getting paid for it now. So yes, your experience, your volunteer experience absolutely counts, and there are very transferable skills there.
Absolutely. Perfect example. Thank you, Giovanna.
Also, your volunteer work in different committees, boards, that's also part of your resume now. So it is important to add that all your volunteer work, experience, everything you're out in the community, assisting any type of volunteer is very important, especially if it's in line with what your profession is.
But you'd be surprised at how many skills are transferable. Administrative skills, organizational skills, planning. If you helped, it's just a million different things that you can translate into the skills that match the work that you're looking for. I think people often can't make that connection in their head. And so there's definitely a way to do that. So here's an interesting question. Do you have any examples of when negotiations failed and why? And what lessons did you learn?
I can take that one. I love that question because I'm not one, like I said, to present myself as like a boss babe or like a CEO that has it all figured out. So a lot of my teachings to my audience is from my failures. So I have absolutely failed in negotiations in my corporate job and also now in doing influencer marketing. So most recently in my corporate job, I had asked for a raise because I was doing the work of a team leader for the team I was on. I was training everybody. I was developing new processes, onboarding people, the whole thing. Now looking back, I cringe thinking, I cannot believe these people just didn't pay me my worth. But I asked for a raise. And that is actually when I missed the deadline, the example that I gave earlier where he said, I wish you would have brought this up because we missed the deadline. He said, but let's reassess in 6 months. How about you do ABC, and then if ABC is done by June, then I can really make a case for you. And I did ABC and XYZ as well. I did ABCDEFG, right? I did the whole alphabet on top of that. And when the time came, oh well, we still have to look, So I think it's also important as women to know when to walk. I know it's a little intimidating sometimes, or even to think, oh, I have to update my resume and get back out there again. but it's just really worth it because eventually you'll start resenting your work, you'll start resenting your team. At least that's how I felt, because I knew that I wasn't getting paid my worth and I was doing all the work. But I also knew that the additional work I was taking on was going to help me in my new position, because these are all additional skills and projects that I could add to beef up my resume. And I eventually did switch. I left because they weren't willing to pay me my worth. And I went with the company that did, and that did recognize those additional projects that I was taking on. So I would say that would be my experience with a negotiation failing. Now as an influencer, you get some real lowball offers. I think I like to, not be entirely cynical and think it's just because people are trying to rip me off. Sometimes the industry's pretty new, so people just don't know what things cost, right. So they'll just hit me with the real lowball offer. And I'll say, actually, this is what I get paid and this is what other people pay me. And then they just ghost, so to me, that's a failure if they just ghost and I didn't get what I wanted. But it's okay. You just kind of have to know your worth, not sell yourself for less, and keep it moving.
Amen. Oh, I love that story. Thank you so much. Maria?
I was just going to say the same thing. Sometimes big believer of things happen for a reason. So it's important to know when to walk away. And if a door keeps just closing, it's really time to look at other opportunities.
Absolutely. You know that the current saying is go where you are valued and celebrated. Yes. Don't stay and be abused and overlooked and undervalued. Oh, I love those stories. Thank you. And so good. Here's some follow-up to that. How do we manage or best approach the walk away point? Does it start with a resignation letter or voicing concerns to management first? Let me add a little bit to that from my executive experience perspective. Number one, always be looking. So if you're feeling undervalued, underpaid, underappreciated, be looking. I call it sort of testing let people compete for your talent, right? So you have one like I said, the bird in the hand, the company that you're working for, and see what other people would be willing to pay you for your talent and time, and what else is out there. So it's like always be looking. And then when you find something that looks like it's what you're looking for, more money, something better about the package, right? Never offer a resignation letter unless you're truly ready to leave, right? You definitely have to have your next opportunity lined up before you say, I'm ready to go. At that point, they may negotiate for you to keep you. They may offer you something, to sort of counter the offer that you have on the outside. And you have to be very careful with that, because you don't want to make a commitment to the outside and then decide to stay in-house, because then, that's just not good character. You don't want to do that to a potential employer. So remember that. Remember, always be looking. Look for opportunities on the outside. If you've come to that point in your life, in your career, where you think you're ready to leave, but always voice your concerns to management first, right? Go in and let them know that you're doing this, you're accomplishing that, you think you really deserve to be paid more, or you've learned more about the market in ways that we've talked about on this call. And you believe you should be paid more, and then see what they say. Always be sort of in that discussion and negotiation process if you believe you should be paid more, and at the same time be looking on the outside. Maria, I think you wanted to add to that.
I just wanted to add, just talk to your superiors, to your manager, your supervisor, and say, what is my career path here? What do you see me accomplishing? And that opens a conversation, and also let them know, that there's an opportunity. And I really want to make sure that I explore all of my options. I love working here. It's great. So offer a conversation of your career path.
You got it. That's perfect. I love that. I think we may have time for one more question from the audience. If anyone has anything to drop into the chat. If not, I'm going to turn it over to Debbie to close us out. And thank you all so much for joining us today. I love the concept of empowering all of you to make sure that you're getting paid what you're worth. Good luck.
Thank you, team. Again, you are awesome. And one of the things as I was listening in, that I'll add to the conversation is, and it was brought up a couple of different ways, but money isn't everything. It's a part of the package, and really there are a lot of other things to keep thinking about as you continue to grow your career. I want to say thank you to Lisa and Giovanna and Maria for sharing their expertise and experience with you. I want to invite each of you to connect or volunteer or even donate if you feel inclined with the YWCA. We're really doing some exciting work trying to attract additional volunteers. So please check out our website. And right now, as I mentioned at the beginning, our senior programs would love to have folks help with our Bundles of Love program. Just a nice little opportunity to brighten a senior's day. Next slide, please. On Tuesday, we had an exciting, not the right word. It was a reflective, very meaningful conversation about put your dollars where your heart is. And it was about anti-racist consumerism spending at year end. I know this is that time of year when a lot of us spend a lot, and trying to really put our money where our heart is, making sure we know which companies we're buying things from, how we send a message about what we care about through how we spend. That was on Tuesday, but you can catch the reruns on our YouTube channel or our Facebook channel. That's in the chat. You can probably also just click onto our website and find out where that's at as well. But it was really thoughtful. There's a fabulous worksheet that is, in my opinion, not just for year-end spending, but for some good kind of grounding of how you value money and the activities and the things you care about. Next question, next slide, please. Oh, and connect with us, please, with any or all of our social media handles. We're not as widely known as Giovanna, but we hope to be if you will click on one of these opportunities to join us and be connected with us. Thank you. And again, here's my email and Cambria's email. And we love these panels. Happy to talk to anyone about doing another one, because empowered women empower women. Thanks all. Have a great afternoon.